Hello and welcome to Cache In On I.T, your go-to podcast for all things information technology at MCC. My name is Art Brown. I'm the Dean of IT at MCC, and I'm thrilled to guide you on this exciting journey through the dynamic world of IT. Together, we'll explore the latest trends, innovations, and success stories within our department, giving you an insider's look at what makes our IT community thrive. Throughout our various episodes, we'll shine spotlights on the incredible talent of our faculty, dedication of our staff, and some of the ambitious spirits of our students. We welcome you to sit back, relax, listen to our seasoned IT professionals and aspiring students as we begin this journey on our podcast. So, welcome to another episode of Cache In On I.T. My name is Art Brown. I'll be your host for this next episode. I'm pleased to have two of my colleagues with me today, David and Sheila. We're happy to have them. They're going to talk with us about their roles here at MCC. Sheila's our Director of Scholarships and David is a Career Skills Coach for our Workforce Development team. So again, welcome Sheila and David.
Thank you.
Thanks, so, if you can, before we get too far, I kind of want to share with the audience a little bit about your backgrounds and your stories. So David, I'm looking at you first. Maybe if you don't mind sharing, your journey, what led you here to MCC?
Sure, yeah. So I started off as a student here at MCC,
Okay.
Taking classes here at Fort Campus for Human Services on a pathway to addiction counseling.
Okay.
Used that to get licensed, did that for about 4 years while I also got my bachelor's from Bellevue in behavioral science.
Okay.
Until I found this position here at the college, and I just, it's kind of like a blessing to be able to work here, honestly, because this place, it does a lot for a lot of good people.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been here for about 2 years as a career skills coach, and I've been on the Rapid IT grant for the past year and a half.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll dive deeper into your role here. And Sheila, kind of putting a spotlight on you. Can you share with the audience a little bit about your story?
Absolutely. So I have been at Metro for 10 years now, in a variety of different roles.
Okay.
So I came to Metro from an organization called Education Quest Foundation, worked there in financial aid and scholarships and all of that for 15 years before coming to Metro.
Gotcha.
And I'm originally from Iowa, so grew up in Iowa and spent time there for most of my life.
Okay.
And when I came to Metro, it was just such a wonderful fit. I absolutely love being here at Metro. And like I said, I've been in a variety of roles. So I started in student affairs, did advising. I was the director of advising here in our Career and Academic Skills Center at the Fort Campus for 3 years. And about a year and a half switched to the director of scholarships. So I've got a lot of experience on many different fronts here at the college, and have worked with advising in lots of different areas, and excited to be in the scholarships department now, giving lots of money to students.
Gotcha. Cool. So you guys both have very influential roles. The reason I wanted you both here today is I feel like you can share with our student audience and then just our general population what benefits you can offer to prospective and current students. So David, I'm kind of looking at you. I know you support 2 different programs here at the college. Let's start with the Rapid IT program and maybe telling the audience what that is and how it can maybe benefit current and existing students or future students.
Sure, yeah. The Rapid IT program is a 4-month-long class where students learn the CompTIA A+ certification. That certification prepares students to be like level 1 help desk in IT, which would be the first step before getting into networking, security, basically any pathway in IT outside of programming. We also have another intro level, like for fundamentals, for students who have no experience, maybe just want to see if they might be interested in IT, just kind of learn the basics. Those are both non-credit training programs. And the full length of it for an intro student would take about 6 months on average.
Gotcha. And can you share with the audience, I think you kind of alluded to it, if someone's looking at IT and they're maybe on the fence about what they want to do, I would think this is one of the benefits that you can kind of test the waters a little bit. Can you elaborate on that maybe a little?
Yeah, absolutely. We have had 2 different versions of this, whether it being the CompTIA Fundamentals or the Google IT Support Fundamentals, both offered to anyone who's interested in just learning more about IT, just trying to figure out if maybe that's what they're interested in. Oftentimes people think IT pays a lot of money. I hear all this stuff about IT. I think, I want to go try it out, and they find out, oh, this isn't for me. Nice. That's also good to know. It is important for us to explore what we like, find out what we don't like also, right? But if you do, that's your opportunity to then move on, work on that A+, which can put you right into $18 to $25 an hour role.
Right.
Also giving you that experience that we all need to get really into the field.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm going to come back to that. We're going to kind of make this balance. So Sheila, I know you support several scholarship programs here at the college, and we'll kind of do a tag team, but maybe if you can give us a highlight of maybe the broadest scholarships available to students, and then we can come back and talk about specific IT opportunity scholarships.
Sure. Yeah. So Metro has over 180 scholarship opportunities for students. And so we have lots of different types of scholarships focused on things that maybe it's dependent on what you want to study.
Gotcha.
It can be dependent on, other kinds of areas too. But so we have over 3,500 Metro students currently on scholarship. And so, we are giving out about $5.5 million a year in scholarships to students, which is exciting. And so we have a lot of large dollar scholarships, for students. And so some of those scholarships are things like the Walter Scott Pathway Scholarship. We have Avenue Scholars that have large scholarships. The Johnny Rogers Career and Technical Scholarship. We have Peter Kiewit Scholarship, Exarban Foundation Scholarship, Nebraska Career Scholarship. So I could go on and on because we have 180 of them.
Gotcha. We're going to drill down.
We can drill down to more.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Yeah,
we will. So I'm going to come back to you. Hold that thought.
Perfect.
So David, let's take a little deeper dive on Rapid IT. Can you share with the audience, people that are listening, how might they specifically get involved, and what are some of the qualifying criteria?
Yeah, so to qualify for our non-credit training programs, it's really straightforward. Be unemployed or underemployed, and fall under a certain income guideline. So for a single individual household, I believe it's $48,000 a year. Then obviously it goes up for the household size. And the underemployment, it's kind of a loose term, but essentially it's alluding to someone who has gained some skills but is not really earning the money that they're worth, or maybe they are now only working part-time because they something that's going on with their work field. So yeah, very, very wide net of people who can qualify for that program and not have to pay anything.
Gotcha. And can you go a little bit deeper? So, I know primarily your focus is on maybe returning or career changers, I would say, and individuals that are just trying to figure out if this is a space for them. We do want to complement and provide future pathways for students. So if someone is, again, on the fence about IT in general, I would think this is a good place to start to see and solidify their interest. Can you talk about maybe the transition? Let's say I take a class or two in the Rapid IT pathway. What would that transition look like for someone that wants to go further?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if someone wanted to continue after that point, which you absolutely should, like I said, you're getting a chance to get that experience, but a little bit more education opens up a lot more doors. So some options would be to continue on with more CompTIA certifications, or move on to a credit program at MCC where we have Career Forward. Career Forward is a new ARPA-funded program that we have here at the college that, again, pays for college for students who are unemployed, underemployed, fall under that income guideline. And then on top of that, if you make that income qualification, you also qualify for our workforce support grant, which pays students $16 an hour for their in-class time and provides a lot more supportive services like our coaching. So hold that thought. I'm going to come back to more on Career Forward. But specifically with Rapid IT, can you maybe further quantify what tangible benefits, if I'm listening to this and this has caught my attention, what are some maybe 2 or 3 net tangible benefits that a participant might get from participating? I would say the most exciting one would be our employer partnerships. So one of the best ones we have is with Lutz. Lutz is a huge employer here in Omaha. They take on 12 new interns every year in 3 different periods. And they pay the students $20 an hour for a full-time position. Another great benefit is our coaching. Our coaching provides an opportunity to go through a workforce training program where we sit with you one-on-one and help you make a really nice resume, practice interview skills, and then again, set you up with other employers. Have employers come by and present and talk about the field, kind of introduce them to what it's like, give the students a chance to ask some questions.
And so just to clarify for the audience, Rapid IT students are starting taking CompTIA and IT fundamentals courses, and those are self-paced or instructor-led courses.
Yeah, so if the student goes through the CompTIA fundamentals, that's an in-class, instructor-led. If the student goes through the Google IT fundamentals, that's a self-paced, online. Those are both our intros.
Okay.
For someone who has had some experience with IT, maybe already has some work experience, any kind of educational experience, they can probably jump right into the CompTIA A+.
Okay.
And that's 4 months in person, 3 times a week.
Okay. And just further to clarify, if I'm a student that meets the income requirements, am I paying money to participate in these programs, or what out-of-pocket expense might I expect?
There will be no out-of-pocket expenses for a student that income qualifies. Like I said, they'll get paid $16 an hour on top of it for all of their in-class time, just to try to help minimize some of the barriers that someone might have, like transportation, or, we all struggle justifying not going to work full-time, or not working overtime maybe, or not working a second job. Hopefully that $16 an hour kind of bridges that, makes it, it strengthens that opportunity.
Okay, sounds good. And then one more question, and then I'll come back to you, but that I also hear, so students will take these CompTIA or Google credential instructor-led courses. They can also obtain those industry credentials that accompany those, is that correct? And is there a limit on how far they can go in that pathway, or can you maybe elaborate on that more?
As far as credit students?
Or any student in general, but
so that's the really awesome thing about Career Forward, is that
well, that'll be Rapid IT before you jump there.
So the certifications for Rapid IT are those Google IT support, CompTIA fundamentals, and CompTIA A+. CompTIA does offer a vast amount of certifications,
right?
And we all recommend getting them. They provide a lot of opportunities. We don't have any non-credit training programs for them at the college at the moment, though.
Right. Okay, gotcha. And one more quick question before I jump. Credit students, and let's say they maybe didn't start out with Rapid IT, but they want to take advantage of the benefit of getting the credential cert. How does that work if I was a credit student?
Yeah, so our credit students have a ton of really cool opportunities as well. If you're an IT student, for example, and you see, I'm taking this class, that class, and these actually match up with industry credentials, certifications like the CompTIA A+.
Right.
Career Forward, if you are a Career Forward student, will fund the testing voucher. So for example, PC Repair 1 and 2 is CompTIA A+.
Right, okay, gotcha. So I'm gonna come back, we'll talk more about Career Forward. Sheila, let's talk about some of those mini scholarships you mentioned. So I believe I roughly counted 7, 8 that you mentioned. So let's try to divide them into maybe groups of 4 if you can. So maybe, you mentioned roughly 8, maybe start with, let's talk about application process and deadlines first if you can.
Yeah, so we have a really easy scholarship application process for students here at the college. So currently it's closed until June 5th, and that will open back up our new application for the whole academic year. So it's really nice because we only have our students apply for scholarships with one application that takes really 5 minutes or less for them to fill out. It's got a few quick questions on there, and they do that one time per year. We ask them to check back monthly on those, just to make sure if we had a new donor give us money that maybe wants an essay from a student and they qualify, we don't want them to miss that opportunity. So they can look at that throughout the year. So our first deadline for the fall, which is where we give the most scholarships to students, is open from June 5th, and then the deadline is August 1st. So our application never closes, but that August 1st is the deadline for fall scholarship applicants. So anybody who's thinking about coming to school in the fall is going to want to fill out the application between June 5th and August 1st. And then we have them, like I said, do this 5-minute application, and we do all the back end work to match them up with whatever scholarships that they might qualify for, and try to give them the best scholarship opportunity possible.
Sounds good. what would the turnaround time be? Let's say I apply June 5th. How soon could I expect to hear an answer?
Yeah, so since our deadline is August 1st, we do awarding starting August 2nd.
Okay.
And it usually takes us 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the quarter, to be able to get notifications out for students. So Metro students that are current students, we email them to their Metro email address, letting them know that they've been offered a scholarship. And for some of them, we are required to get an acceptance form back because many of our scholarships come from donors in the community, and we need to report back to those donors on progress for students. And so we have to get their permission to do that through an acceptance form. Scholarships that are awarded that are Metro scholarships specifically through our institution don't require necessarily always an acceptance form for students. So usually I would say within 3 weeks, so well before their quarter, it's like at the, before their quarter is starting, it's usually about 3 weeks before the quarter starts. So students know, here's what money I have to be able to help me pay for school and what I can anticipate getting. So.
And is it an expectation that all students applying for scholarships fill out the FAFSA form? Is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So students are actually encouraged to fill out the FAFSA form, but not required. Some of our scholarships do require the FAFSA form to determine eligibility because they're based on financial need. But not all scholarships that we have require that as a component. So if a student can't fill out the FAFSA or maybe are having problems with that, we want them to do it as much as possible, right? Because that can also help them get other money, of course, if they qualify. But it's not a requirement for all of our scholarships.
Yeah. And then can you, because you mentioned so many, so can I have you maybe go down the list of maybe the top 3 or 4, maybe from general to more specific in IT that we would want this IT prospective audience to listen to?
So one of the cool things, like I said, is that when they fill out this application, for most of those scholarships that I mentioned earlier, there are not any other things they have to do besides a general 5-minute application that asks some basic questions for things like, what are they planning to study? So if they mark that they're studying an IT program or, a transfer IT program, something like that. And then also some of our IT scholarships are for transfer students, and so it asks them, are they planning to transfer? So we're gathering that data from them, to try to get that. So when I look at, for example, one of our scholarships that is very specific for IT is the Exarban Foundation has given us some good money for IT students, And so we have one that is called the Metro MAV program that is for students specifically planning to transfer in an IT program. So they could be the cybersecurity transfer or the computer technology transfer for that, and planning specifically to attend UNO. One of the great benefits of that particular scholarship, besides the funding, which is 1 year of funds for that scholarship of $4,000 for the year, is they actually have an advisor from UNO that's working with them at the exact same time as our Metro staff. So they're meeting with those students quarterly to try to make sure what they're taking here is going to exactly translate to their program there. They help them with the application at UNO, making sure they're not missing any deadlines. And then those students actually are qualified for a scholarship at UNO for the Metro MAV when they transfer there. In that first year for those Metro MAV IT students, if they do really well here, we will renew that under a different Metro MAV scholarship that we have that's institutional, so they can continue to get funded for that scholarship.
And is that at UNO, Sheila?
Yes, that's all goes to UNO for right now, that transfer scholarship for the Exarban. And as part of that Exarban one, also, let's say students are doing just an IT pathway and getting their associates or certificate here. Part of the Exarban funds also are given to students for those. So if I'm getting my associates or certificate, we have a specific scholarship that's just for students in those IT pathways, and that could be any of your IT pathways that we have here that students can qualify for. So that's the Exarban one, which is very, very specific for that. But we have a lot of other scholarships that are top dollar scholarships that also allow for IT components to those as well.
So for those listening, if you can quantify how many might be available this upcoming academic year, the Exarban scholarships?
So for the Exarban, I don't have the exact number for what we're going to be able to offer. We still have to look at the amount of funding that we have left. But I would say we probably will be offering around 40 or more of those for this upcoming year still.
Sounds good.
Yep.
And just to further clarify, is it students that have an intent to transfer to a 4-year UNO specifically, or is that 40 those that are getting maybe a terminal degree here at Metro? Or?
It might be a combination of both.
Oh, okay.
And so the funding is one large pool.
Right.
And we just have to determine how many of those students are returning still for the next year before we decide exactly how many more we can give depending on the funding. But Exarban's been a great partner and is willing to continue to help fund us. And so I'm hoping that, even if we say, oh, we've spent all the money, then they can continue to do that and support our students.
Okay.
So,
all right. So hold that thought. I'm coming back to you.
Perfect.
All right, David, I'm looking back at you. So let's talk a little bit more about Career Forward. How can you elaborate on that and how it differentiates itself from Rapid IT? Forgive me.
Yeah. So Career Forward, it's a new program to the college. We started it about 1 year ago. It's ARPA funded. So what it does is the same thing that what we do for our non-credit students. We're aiming to minimize barriers. So it's doing the same thing, providing them the $16 an hour, paying for their classes, all their books, fees, anything like that. Typically, the students that we're serving are underemployed or unemployed. So like I said, you could qualify if you are employed, just falling under those income guidelines.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And are there, let's say, specific, minus those criteria, maybe talk about some of the net benefits students can expect to gain from Career Forward? Maybe how it differentiates from Rapid IT.
Yeah. Well, really, we serve all the students in very, very similar ways. So they're getting those support services. So, for example, you'll have myself or one of my coworkers as a coach. I primarily work with the IT students, so probably myself. Okay. We spend a week together working on work ethic training, customer service training, building that resume and working on interview skills. So the goal is that once you're done with your degree, you're coming out of it ready to enter the workforce. Okay. You're ready to get a job.
Gotcha.
And then throughout the time, they have myself or another coach to talk to, reach out to about anything that they might have that's going on. So I mentioned easing and minimizing barriers. We don't only pay them $16 an hour. We also can access other services and also provide what we call the hardship assistance. If a student has their home, their rent, not their home, a place that they're renting, they're going to be evicted from it, we may be able to pay their rent. Okay. If a student has their car breakdown, we may be able to fix their vehicle. Okay. It's a case-by-case kind of basis, but we're trying to do whatever we can to help these students who might have something going on in their life, right? Which most do, right? To try to help them get all the way through school and then get a good job.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And let's talk about specifically, I think you shared kind of some of the parameters with Rapid IT and the tangible technical benefits. Are there any parameters or limits on Career Forward? You alluded to some of the credentials that students can pursue. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, there's so many cool opportunities with that. There are, I think, at least 10 different IT classes that directly correlate with a certification, right? So if you have your degree or you've passed these classes and you are a Career Forward student, then Career Forward will pay for that testing voucher. And in some instances will pay for a retake attempt even, because some of these tests are pretty hard.
They can be.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Okay, so I'll come back to you.
Cool.
All right. Sheila, let's talk a little bit more about more scholarships. So you mentioned the Exarban one.
Yep.
And are there any others that you want to elaborate more on?
Yeah, because we still have money to give for fall. So some scholarships, like I mentioned, like the Walter Scott Pathway or Abner Scholars that are large dollar, we've already given those funds for going into fall. However, we have a lot of more scholarships to offer. So we have the Johnny Rogers Career and Technical Scholarship that students in IT can be qualified for. That is a scholarship that's worth $13,000 over the time that that they're here in the 2-year time period. Plus, they'll have an engagement navigator that will be working with them closely while they're in that program. We'll be selecting between 40 and 45 students total in lots of program areas, but IT being one of them for that. We're excited because Peter Kiewit actually is now going to focus mostly on STEM for their scholarship, and so IT is definitely part of that. And so that scholarship is a $6,000 scholarship over a 2-year time period, and we have 50 of those to give for this next year. And for that, we have a Nebraska Career Scholarship, which we are hoping, that's from the state, and we're hoping that we will get more funds again for this next year, but that's a scholarship that is $5,000 a year for students and is renewable as long as we get funding from the state. And that actually, we've given hundreds of those to students. And so that's another large one. The Dick and Mary Holland Foundation actually have just started a new scholarship that will start this fall at Metro, where IT students are going to be able to get that. We have about 20 students total that will be getting. So we have a lot. And in fact, in the spring, I just ran numbers not too long ago, and I'm doing this off my top of my head at the moment because I forgot to look, but I think it was 28% of the IT students enrolled in an IT program right now had a scholarship in the spring.
Very cool.
So,
very cool. Can you, of those that you mentioned, if you can recall, were there limitations on areas of study, or are they pretty wide open? I'm just curious.
For all of those that I mentioned, in terms of the IT part of it, it is
just an
kind
IT
of it's
area.
just IT.
Perfect.
All of those fit any one of that, and so because they're high need areas, and so those there's pretty much everything within that will fit to that. So even
Very
the
cool.
transfer. So we're excited that Peter Kiewit is actually also focusing on transfer. So
really
that
cool.
is that was something new this year. In the past, it's just been our our programs that are just the ones that we have here for the associates, but not the transfer. But they are actually going to be allowing us for do transfer too.
Gotcha. Okay.
Cool thing about Career Forward is it just works as the last payee, so you don't have to worry about anything. If you have scholarships, it will just cover the remainder for everything.
Okay.
The thing that I think people should take away from Career Forward is that it's only available for a limited amount of time. We'll hopefully, extend it. However, I think you should just take advantage of the opportunity, right? We all have a limited Pell eligibility.
Right.
So if you're using it right now, I would come see if you qualify for Career Forward. It's pretty easy to see if you qualify, and if you do, you can pause using your Pell, use Career Forward, and then you'll hopefully still have some Pell left over to use later on, right? That's the thing that I think most people don't fully understand about it. Another thing I think most people don't understand is that you don't have to pay taxes on any of this. This isn't income. I mentioned we're paying you $16 an hour. You don't have to tell the state, you don't have, it's not going to affect your SNAP benefits, anything like that. That's a big worry for a lot of people. So those are the two main takeaways I think someone could take about our non-credit or credit, Career Forward or Rapid IT programs.
Okay, very interesting. And and we'll get this included on the splash screens, but how can students learn more about Rapid IT or Career Forward?
Yes, so I would recommend filling out an interest inquiry, which I can provide a link for, or just attending an information session. We have our information sessions 3 times a month. They take about 2 hours. They're here at Building 24 at Fort Campus, which I can provide a link to sign up for that as well.
Okay, very cool. Thank you so much. And then Sheila, kind of wrapping it up. So you mentioned several opportunities for scholarships. Any closing comments? Sounds like between both David, your programs, and Sheila, the scholarship programs, many opportunities for funding or underwriting your education with us. Any parting comments you might want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just really want students to apply, right?
Gotcha.
Because you can't get money if you don't apply.
Right,
so that's really, really important. And we are getting, donors are really seeing the great work that our students are doing. And so we're getting more funding all the time and trying to make sure that money gets to students and that students are succeeding here, right? So, but they can't get that funding if they don't apply. And of course, we can't give scholarships to everybody, even though I'd love to. But, we want students to be able to apply. So we have an easy process for that. Like I mentioned, they can, get you the website that you can put up so that students can do that, whether they're a new student or a current student. And some of our scholarships can be used for just tuition and fees, but some can be used for books, supplies. Some can go home for living costs as well, transportation, personal expenses, things like that. So, it's just one of those things that we've made it an easy process where, you only have to do it the one time a year, and we're going to keep considering you every single quarter for scholarships if you applied. So it's really a great way for students to be able to get some money and not have to pay as much out of pocket, or if they were only qualified for loans, maybe get scholarships to help pay. So.
And I feel like you both have alluded to it. Is it fair to say that you both have unclaimed dollars in both of your respective pathways? Is that a fair statement?
I would say, actually, we have spent all of our money this year. So I would say for us, no, because we have just done a great job of being able to get money in the hands of students this year. So we actually, for our institutional amounts, we have spent all of our money for the year. And for our foundation funds that we get from donors and things like that, we have a few that haven't been given out, but they're very specific scholarships that are for things that maybe we just aren't able to find candidates for, and not IT ones. We have a lot of IT students that are applying, which is really great. So no, we're spending our money, but I want people to apply because we just can't give you money if you don't apply. So
we'll make sure we'll get both websites up for the audience to see. And David, I think you kind of maybe said a little contrary there. You guys have dollars that are not being claimed. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's an understatement for sure. I think it's probably too late to get in for the summer quarter, but we're currently taking people for the fall quarter.
Perfect. Sounds great. And let's see, one last question. Sheila, kind of back to the scholarships for, I'm just thinking about high school students. So probably a little, not too late for recent graduates that are looking still at Metro for the fall quarter, but maybe those rising seniors for the fall of 2025. What are those deadlines?
Well, let me tell you this. We actually do have scholarships because we still have some to award for fall. Like I mentioned, like Peter, we will be looking at high school students for some of those. So if they didn't get anything yet as a high school student, I just talked to some students the other day, we want them to apply between June 1st and by that August, or June 5th and that August 1st deadline this year, because we might still have scholarships for them for the fall.
Good to hear.
But the students that are going to be seniors in this next academic year, our first early deadline is December 1st. Their application will actually pretty much open September 1st with some of our high school specific scholarships, like the Board of Governors scholarship, for example, that we give out. And then that early deadline is December 1st, and the final deadline is March 1st. So and we'll have on that page that I give you for the website that people can check out, it has all of our deadlines, application links, additional information, and our contact information that they can call if they ever have questions.
And then just for the audience's sake, Board of Governors, maybe the benefits of that scholarship. It's one of our most prestigious ones.
So our Board of Governors scholarship, this year I think we gave out about 125 of those to students, and it's a simple essay is what they have to write. It's like a paragraph of like 300 words, so it's not even long, it's 350 words, to tell us why they want to come to Metro and what they're going to do with their degree. And that is a full tuition and fees scholarship for 18 credits per quarter for 8 quarters of their time here at Metro. So
2 years roughly,
for basically 2 years, but most students are finishing within that if they're taking a full advantage of that. So and high school students too, just to mention, obviously we have one more year of free tuition at the college that we want students to take advantage of. And here's the great thing is we have a scholarship called Take It Further that if a student is taking high school classes, depending on how many credits they get, they automatically, by taking high school classes that are now free for them for one more year, anywhere from $250 to $750 for their first 3 quarters here at Metro in a scholarship, regardless if they even fill out the application for the scholarship application. All they have to do is come to Metro and finish their education. So that's exciting for our high school students that might be looking for a way to help pay for school.
For sure. And then that, as we know it, the free tuition for high school ends tentatively summer of 2025, is that correct?
Yes, summer
Gotcha.
2025.
Okay.
So we got one more year for get all those
Yes,
free,
gotcha.
classes in that you can as a high school student.
Right, and we're hopeful that they
Yes,
get extended. Is that
I
a
hope
fair
so.
statement? Yeah, we're hopeful.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. This has been very informative. I hope our audience has taken a lot from this. We will definitely get websites up for both of you guys. And again, thanks for taking time to come share about opportunities and how students can kind of further their education. Any last comments, you guys? Or?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thank you both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love to talk money, right?
do, we
and,
do.
and IT and all of that
all of that,
stuff,
for
right?
sure.
Like, let's get
Yeah.
the money to students.
No, well, I
We've got
appreciate-
plenty to spend.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we will make sure we get this circulated, and hopefully students are listening. So,
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Have a good day
Art.
now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Gotcha. David, Sheila, thank you so much for participating today. Your information was invaluable. And I just want to thank our audience for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next episode to be determined. So we're glad to have everyone tune in. Thank you.